The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the expressed written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Thursday, October 18th. Friday, October 19th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio, and we welcome you to tonight's show. If you want to take a listen to our archives, all you got to do is go to our YouTube channel. They are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, and in the next couple of weeks, our brand new store is going to be looking very, very tight. Read up on the encounter online and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. We recommend you hit that Ensuho banner at spacedoutradio.com and subscribe to the channel today. The third Thursday of the month, we do our monthly check on the media with Jamie Sexton in our segment we call The Rebel Planet. A 30-year career in the entertainment industry has helped Jamie carve his niche in the alternative news. You see, when you're hanging around people like actors, musicians, athletes, politicians, and people of influence, you hear some pretty bizarre tales of what is actually going on behind the mainstream stories. It's the news that is covering the real news, which is why we bring Jamie Sexton into Spaced Out Radio. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Olaf Phillips will be back with the latest edition from The Encounter. from the SOR newsroom, Mr. Jamie Sexton, all the way from the Lone Star State in Texas. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, my brother. Been a minute.
I'm doing good, too. It's actually warmed up here. I'm back to T-shirt weather. Had 8 inches of snow 2 weeks ago. Now I'm back to T-shirts.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Well, it's still cold here.
Yeah. I feel so bad for you. My friend.
Well, we had I mean, you're going to get it, but for us, thin-skinned folks down here, we went from, summer to winter in one day.
Yeah, you know what? That happened up here, and it seems to be happening a lot this year, where it's almost like fall has been non-existent, and it's gone straight into like winter-type temperatures. It's just crazy right now.
I know, it's nuts. It literally was 85 degrees last week, and the next day was 52. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So
that happened to Everett in Chicago, where it was like 85, 87 degrees Fahrenheit, and the next day it got down to 29. Like, that is a huge change.
Wow.
Huge change.
Oh, my, yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever kills the mosquitoes, that's what I'm for.
Oh, yeah. Well, we haven't had mosquitoes here in a few weeks. After being attacked the way I was this year, the little bastards deserve it. I'm not going to lie. They deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
They were horrible this year. They were absolutely horrible this year. So what's new in the land of Texas, man? You've been working hard on the Rebel Planet. You've been doing a lot of really cool stuff. What have you been up to?
Well, that and, working on a little bit of new music and putting out fires in my shop.
Yeah, you almost burned your house down. What happened there?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Well, that cold snap that I was telling you about, I brought out a heater that I'd used last year, the monkey. People are not going to know what we're talking about, but I brought it out for Spike, my pet monkey. And so it was the first day, it got cold. I said, well, I need to put a heater for him. So I plugged in the heater and overloaded the circuit. And luckily I was standing there when it happened because someone had done some really bad wiring way back. And, of course, I didn't know it because it was in a junction box, but I heard all this popping and snapping, and I noticed the ceiling lighting up, like there was a lightning storm in the house and in the shop. And I turned around to look up at where this junction box was, and just sparks and light and everything was flying out of it. And the next thing I know, it's on fire. So called the fire department, but I got a fire extinguisher and got it out before the fire department showed up.
Well, that's good.
But they sent 4 fire trucks out. The police department and the fire truck the fire station are my closest neighbors down the street. So they got here really fast, but they were more interested in taking pictures with the monkey than they were the fire when they got here.
Well, Spike's a celebrity. Spike's a celebrity.
Oh, yeah. He's been around the world. He's got his own fan base.
How old is Spike now?
He is 14, and he's a capuchin monkey, and they live until they're in captivity. They live anywhere between 40 and 50 years, so he's probably going to outlast me. Sure he will.
How's he reacting? Because he used to have a girlfriend.
Yes, he did. He had a girlfriend, Jessica. She was an older woman, and she was at least 17 years older than him, probably closer to 24 years older than him. But they got along really well. You never know, if they're going to get along. But I had Spike before I got Jessica, and when I got Spike, he was young and rowdy and just a baby really, and he just kind of hit this wall emotionally, and I was like, I think I need another monkey to cheer him up. And he's a rare breed of capuchin because there's 3 different types of capuchin monkeys, and he's the rarest type type, a rare species. There's a white face capuchin, a black cap capuchin, and then a cinnamon capuchin is what he is. So, living in Vegas, I actually found in Vegas someone that was actually trying to rehome a whisper capuchin. So it was meant to be. So I brought her home, and within an hour they were singing to each other and playing and throwing the ball back and forth. So it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah. But she got sick and passed away. And so I got to find him another girlfriend. It's been a few years. So if anybody's got any leads on any sexy capuchin monkeys, females, let me know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Capuchin date. There's your website, capuchindate.com. Let's get that thing going. Now, before we get into all the alternative news, this week was, and just this past Sunday, was a very, very big anniversary in television, which would have been the 54 years ago, the premiere of Gilligan's Island. You a fan?
That's right.
You a fan of Gilligan's Island?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Gilligan's Island may be my favorite television show of all time. If not, it's definitely one of the top three. Absolutely.
I always wondered, though. I mean, how could the professor build all of this really, really cool stuff, but he couldn't figure out how to slap some bamboo boards on the side of that boat?
See, he probably could have. I think the professor probably had secrets. You know what I mean? He was probably wanted. I pieced together this story in my head that he was probably wanted, back on the mainland, and he might have been the one that punched a hole in the boat in the first place. You know what I mean? Just to so he could stay away from the authorities. So. Because you're right, it doesn't make sense. He could have easily patched the boat, but there was a reason he didn't.
I know.
Might have had something to do with Ginger.
It could have been Ginger or Marianne. I mean, they were both kind of fighting over the professor, who was, quite sexy for his day. But nonetheless, you got Thurston Howell III and Lovey there hanging on, not lifting a finger. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I loved Gilligan's Island, but now at 45, I just want to shake the professor. I want to throw him to the sharks.
I don't know. If I was on a desert, if I was on a tropical island stranded with Marianne and Ginger, I think I could probably. I might want to stay on the island too.
Well, true enough. I mean, they were beautiful, beautiful ladies. Right. Beautiful ladies. But nonetheless, I mean, it's the debate that will always continue for every man who's seen Ginger, and that is it Ginger or Marianne? But I mean, that's going down an entirely different path. But I loved Gilligan's Island.
The big debate.
Yeah. I loved Gilligan's Island. And I'm watching the chat rooms right now, and everybody's like debating Ginger or Marianne, right? I mean, this is still a hotly contested issue.
What was your favorite?
Back then,
absolutely.
I flipped, because back then I was all about, I thought Marianne was just so pretty. And, I was intimidated by Ginger. But now that I'm 45, I'd go, I would definitely take Ginger out on a date.
See, I get that, but I'm the opposite of that. When I was younger and inexperienced, Ginger appealed to me because she seemed like somebody that was confident and had experience and could show me the ropes, So I thought that was really cool, and her seductive ways and whatever. But then when I got older and obviously got some experience of my own, that kind of flipped, because then I was attracted to the innocence of Marianne, and I wanted to corrupt her. So,
you bad man, you bad man.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a thing, Well,
I mean, to each their own. The debate will continue. for the next generation, it's all about Saved by the Bell. Do you want, the three girls on Saved by the Bell?
Who were those three girls? There was Elizabeth.
There was Elizabeth,
something.
Lark Voorhees, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad bookings.
No. So the newer generation has the Saved by the Bell. We got Gilligan's Island. That's just the way.
And
it is.
Charlie's Angels. Yeah,
we did get Charlie's Angels too, but
yeah.
Anyways, moving on here, my friend. Moving on. I don't even know where to go with this. This is a lost cause right off the bat here. Right off the bat. I want to ask you something, because we have talked a lot about journalism here in Canada and the United States, and the importance of trying to bring non-biased journalism to the table, which really seems to be missing here in North America at this time. Yet it's been absolutely huge news about the Saudi Arabian government executing Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Right.
Because of stuff he was saying against and writing against the Islamic State.
Right.
Of Saudi Arabia. Now, we can get into the entire do's and don'ts of whether or not, their styles over there, but nobody here in North America is ever going to really understand the laws and the way they do things over there. There's just no way we can, as North American citizens, can really comprehend it. But once again, where this topic does take a lot of precedence is a lot of the governments around the world, including Canada and the United States, were speaking out against it because journalists have the right to write or broadcast topics that are to get stories out of public interest. That's what this gentleman did, and it cost him his life. How dangerous of a precedent is that if journalists are getting executed again, Jamie?
Well, as you mentioned, it's over there. So I don't think that necessarily, that's apples and oranges. You can't really control what happens in a country like that, where, like you said, their ways of dealing with things, their mindset, and what have you, their culture is wired differently. We really don't know exactly what happened just yet. The audio recording seems to indicate that he definitely was tortured and probably died, and I'm assuming that is the case. But we really don't know the details yet. And so, but if, everybody's parsing it kind of the same way, as you suggest, that he spoke out against the Islamic State. So I would assume that that's probably the correct path of logic in his case. As far as how the journalism ties into it and whatnot, again, I think it's apples and oranges, but we are seeing, even in the Western world, we're seeing a whole lot of instances of stifling of free speech, websites being shut down if you're on a particular side of the political equation, social equation, things like that. And, I just, where I stand with that sort of thing. I think most freedom-minded people are not for that. I think it just feeds into the larger picture of what we're dealing with around the world right now, which is a push towards chaos. Some of it's organic, some of it's by design. And, I think a lot of it is, like I said, engineered. I think that in what I see with journalism today is that either people are taking a risk by telling the truth, no matter what side of an issue they're on or whatever, or they are they're softballing their stories to fit a political narrative, or they're just out and out lying to further an agenda. And it's just really, really difficult, even with the most mainstream, most trusted names in journalism, to know who's shooting straight with you. It's extremely disheartening.
Yes, but we also saw that in the early 60s with the Khmer Rouge and groups like that who were and even in the Middle East in the 90s, where Iran and other, very strict Islamic countries were targeting journalists and writers, most like Salman Rushdie, who has been in hiding for almost 40 years now, ever since he wrote,
Oh, absolutely.
His book, the Satanic Verses. But, I mean, journalists have always been targets. They were targets in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I believe there was like $1,000 bounty on each journalist's head.
Right.
I mean, that's scary times. Scary times going into a war zone like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think journalists take, a good journalist, a true journalist, wants to tell the truth. They want to get to the heart of the story. They want to uncover facts. And there was a time, even in the West, where that was possible. You would have really hardworking journalists that would go out and put themselves in very dangerous situations, whether it be researching drug trade or mafias or all these seedy underworlds or war zones, all these different environments to get the story and to get the truth. And I think sometimes you have to do that because anything that's going on in the world that's nefarious or underworld or shady, obviously they're not going to be posting and broadcasting that to in broad daylight. So you do kind of have to go into that underworld to get it. And journalists used to do that. But then we got used to lazy brands of journalism where journalists were not necessarily taking those kinds of risks, and they weren't expected to. And then we got into a third dimension of that, where journalists were actually becoming shills and propagandists. For which that side of the coin has always existed as well. I mean, information is information, and sometimes it's propaganda, and that's always been part of the equation. But we see more and more of that today, and less of true journalism, where you get the facts no matter what it takes, and you don't see too many more of those guys around, and so. Khashoggi, was apparently one of those guys who just spoke his mind and, put it out there. And obviously, in that part of the world, as you suggest, there's been case after case after case. When journalists do that, they pay a price for it. So it's a dangerous world.
With the fact that journalists are being targeted again, and let's face it, they seem to, according to one of our writers, Captain Gail Shirk, she said they beheaded the journalist and then cut him into pieces. This was after he was beaten, his fingers chopped off, then killed. I mean, it's a very, very grotesque way of torturing somebody. That's just not an execution. That's bloody torture.
Right, that's a debt to settle. But, in some cultures, that type of execution is actually commonplace as well. So, but it sounds pretty personal. You know what I mean? It sounded like a vendetta. So. I'm sure that this is a result of him, crossing swords with the wrong people.
Understandable, but at what point? Because whether or not you like the UN, they do have some pretty cool rules, especially when it comes to protecting journalists. And sure, over the last 20 years or so, the UN really doesn't seem to have the authority or the power that it once had in flexing its muscle in telling countries not to do things. Countries kind of laugh at the UN now. But freedom of reporting is one of those things that every country in the world, except for maybe North Korea, is supposed to abide by. So do you go about this with sanctions? Do you go about this with trade wars? How do you see this playing out?
Well, that's a good question, but that's one of the problems with that's one of the problems with something like the UN, an institution like the UN, and people having faith in that sort of thing. To me, it's akin to people putting too much faith in big government. But the UN is a good example of that, because here you have a global supposed pseudo-governing body that is supposed to establish certain humanitarian rules for the world. And on paper it looks good, On paper it looks good. And, a bunch of diplomats get together and they shake hands and agree on things. But the truth of the matter is, each country has its own culture. It has its own laws. It has its own standards, and it has its own borders, and it has its own government, and it has its own military. And so these countries exist in their own sort of vacuum. And although they engage in diplomacy and shake hands, nobody's really signed on wholeheartedly to a global government. And quite frankly, I'm not a fan of the idea to begin with. So when you talk about enforcement and those kind of things, the UN really just doesn't have juice to do anything about anything. A few peacekeeping missions and things, in history have happened under the banner of the UN, but really, those kinds of things happen through the UN. In other words, you'll have a few countries that get together and say, well, we'll be a part of that. Yeah, we'll be, the French, we'll be a part of that. The United States, Canada, we'll be a part of that, and then they assimilate some troops or some agents, and they go in and they take care of this crisis or that crisis, and they do it under the banner of the UN. But really, that was just a coalition, and they put a UN stamp on it. The UN itself is not a government. In other words, it doesn't represent a country, and it doesn't really have authority over a country. It's mainly just a handshake sort of governing body is really what it is. So I never look to the UN for anything, and quite frankly, I'm not even a fan of the idea of the UN. I am a fan of global agreements that are good for greater mankind. Obviously, I think all good people could kind of agree on that kind of thing. But I don't know. You say, well, that goes against things of the UN. Well, who's supposed to enforce that? And it comes down basically to what you suggest, things that things that we actually have leverage with, sanctions and tariffs, and whenever you affect someone's economy, you definitely have leverage there. And history has proven that most of the time that's what gives especially countries in the Western world like the United States, most of our geopolitical leverage is when we start leaning on someone financially. It would be a nice thought to say, well, we agreed that none of this was going to happen. But in real life, it's like trying to make an agreement with a drug dealer, or, bad people are going to do bad things. And we really need to get a hold of that reality, is that's just a part of humanity. We can't just necessarily trust that everyone's going to play by the rules. And sometimes in this case, where you have something that happened in a country that's not our country, and we want to impose some sort of leverage against that. We have to use the tools that are most effective at hand. Diplomacy, is kind of lightweight in most of these incidences. And I'm not necessarily sure that we're ever going to really get the story, because Saudi Arabia is just one of those countries that is all business. Culturally, they don't really care about the West. They financially they do, but culturally they don't. They don't want to assimilate with the United States. They don't want to become a Western country. Saudi Arabia is very proud of who they are, and they've always been very traditional in the way they do things, and very secretive, by the way. So I don't necessarily know that we're ever going to get the full truth out of this incident, unfortunately. Hopefully we get enough details to satisfy those people who are most directly affected by it, his family, et cetera, et cetera. But from a government standpoint, leverage, I think it is going to be sanctions and some other leaning on that's going to, that's going to be the form of punishment, I think, is really all we're going to get out of this, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it really is too bad, because the only thing you could really affect Saudi Arabia on is their oil. Well, there's 180 other countries out there who could use Saudi Arabia's oil. They're not too worried about it. They got control. They control most of the Middle East.
Yeah, you're right about that. It's they're not a hurting country, and they've got resources. So it is tough to lean on them. Not only that, but the United States is kind of in a little bit of a quagmire with that, in that our trade deals with them we need them. The U.S. has made some very, very bad deals around the world over the past 20 or 30 years. And, we've been trying to clean that up as a country recently. I think bringing more jobs back here, bringing more industry back here. I think the U.S. is in the process of trying to do those things around the globe where we can. But Saudi Arabia, we actually do. Those deals are pretty solid, and we need them, unfortunately. We do have oil here, but politically it's we have that political dilemma with people not wanting to drill here and not wanting to take advantage of our own resources for one reason or one reason or another. People have different reasons for us not wanting to tap into our own resources here. Some of them are environmental concerns. Some of them are, well, as long as we can get it from someone else, let's not tap into our own reserves, because later on we may need them, and blah, 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 blah. So there's just oil and oil deals and oil resources. That's one of mankind's most precious resources. So it is tough for us to leverage Saudi Arabia, unfortunately.
Well, considering that you can fill a pickup truck in Saudi Arabia for about $35, $40, and in North America, it's much more expensive than that. I don't know what it's in the USA, but in Canada right now, for me to fill up my truck, it's about $100 bill.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like we're around
$100.
We're around $6 to $7 a gallon here.
U.S. currency.
U.S. currency, yeah. So we're at about $1.40 a liter here.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty high. We're in the low middle between those two.
Canada is charging 1 cent a liter here, dude. Seriously. Sorry, I was waiting for you to speak there and I missed it. But nonetheless, it's ridiculous. Like Saudi Arabia just does not care. They don't care. They don't need to care. Who's going to come on in?
Well, that's just it. Yeah, they don't need to care, and that's I for the longest time I've kind of been aware of that fact. as a general notation, that Saudi Arabia is in a unique position with their oil resources, and most of the world does depend on their oil, and most of the Western world does. So it's it's hard to leverage them. And beyond oil, we don't really have a whole lot of we have a few substantial trade deals with them, but nothing on par with our oil deals with them. So, unfortunately, like I said, I don't know how much we're going to really get out of this story, how many details are going to happen. I mean, it happened on their soil, and it's going to be tough, It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's a really unfortunate thing, though. Very sad. And that if the tape is legitimate, the audio tape that was released, if that's legitimate, from what I've heard about the details of that, the poor guy suffered immensely. So that's horrible.
It totally is. And by targeting journalists, getting back to the original part of this is something that the public should be aware of. If journalists all of a sudden start being targeted in not only war-torn countries, but in countries where freedom of speech is, questionable at best, the public needs to know this. The public needs to understand that this is something to be, offended by, and it will be watched very, very closely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that here in the United States, we're approaching some really strange times. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, it's definitely in jeopardy. And I don't take it lightly because, I see, this is something that I follow. This is what I do. So I have my eyes across the landscape with this, and what I see is that there is a real deliberate effort to attempt to silence people, and with this whole with the tech industry, some of these bigger tech companies are really, really flexing their muscle and exercising a lot of power over censorship and filtering and just straight out deleting people and erasing people who they don't agree with politically, and it's becoming a real crisis. It's a real thing, and it really it almost angers me when people try to dismiss it as some sort of conspiracy theory or take it lightly, because what people need to understand is that, if you feel like, well, this person is being silenced, that's fine with me because I didn't really agree with that person anyway. I think that you're missing the greater point. The greater point is if they can do that to that person, they can do it to you tomorrow. And that's the way it'll play out, just like it always has in history. Once you give someone the power to do that sort of thing, they begin to use it indiscriminately. So nobody wins when we live in a culture of censorship or shutting down voices, that dissenting voices, or somebody that you just don't agree with. That's not the way a civilized democratic society lives. You have to allow people to be able to have a different opinion than yourself and express that opinion. There's no harm in that. It helps everybody. Now, if you're in people's faces and you're shouting at them, or you're assaulting them, or you're attacking them, or you're killing them, or shutting down their websites and shutting down their businesses and all those proactive, aggressive things, provocative things, that's not healthy. That's war. That's a light form. That's that's warfare, and we can't. That's what I see that we're devolving into, both on the political landscape, on the social landscape, the government. I'm seeing extremely heated rhetoric and debates within government that we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting really, really nasty, and it worries me. It's very worrisome.
Right.
I think that I try to play it out in my mind and forecast, where it may go, and it just I get very discouraged on a daily basis where this might be headed.
We're going to lighten things up here just a little bit. I do have to say this, though. One of our listeners, Dan, messaged me privately today, and he says, Dave, my wife and I are celebrating our 5th year anniversary coming up, and we've decided each to get our first tattoos. So you know what he's chosen as his first tattoo? Carl. Carl the alien. I'm like, that is awesome. I'm like, dude, you have to send me pictures.
He and his wife?
Well, the wife is not getting Carl. Dan is getting Carl. Dan is getting Carl. Which I'm going to need some pictures, Dan, so we can put it on the SOR website, because this will be an actual first. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, is he going to put the name Carl or just the face of Carl?
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to clarify that.
I think what he has to do is put around it in a circle, like put Carl in the middle and then like a big "We Own the Night" all around it, because the aliens really own the night. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I think you should draw it up for him and send it to him.
Yeah.
And say,
I sent him a picture. I sent him a picture of Carl. I sent him a picture of Carl.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that is flattering. Yeah.
I'm extremely flattered. I'm so excited because when he gets it done, because that first one you can be a little bit nervous if you've never felt the needles going in. You know what it's like.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You can get a little nervous and all of a sudden maybe chicken out.
Yeah.
But,
no, don't do that.
No. Get the ink, man.
It becomes addicting after a while.
Yeah. I haven't got inked since the year 1999. I am so due. Or pardon me, it would have been about 2003, 2004. I am so due. So due.
Yeah, you need an SOR tattoo is what you need.
Well, eventually, what I want to do is I want to get one of my arms done with like all of my experiences that I've had, like with the Bigfoot and Carl and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Everything that I've kind of seen, like black triangles, because I think tattoos should tell a story about you.
Yeah,
at least that's my belief. And so I figure I could tell all of my stories in a nice sleeve. So
dig it.
That's the goal. That's completely the goal. On another hand, other light note here. Good friend of yours, Mr. Sammy Hagar, which led to our thought of the day today, by the way, turned 71 years old on Friday. Was it Friday? Saturday.
Yep, Friday.
Saturday. Now,
13th. Yeah, Saturday. Yeah.
So today's thought of the day, and I'll get your opinion on this right off the bat here, was David or Sammy for Van Halen.
Oh, man.
And we're not going down I had one person named Bart L, the legendary Bart L from LGAB, claim Gary Sharon.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm not a Gary Sharon fan. In other words, I didn't like the band Extreme. Although the drummer for Extreme is also a friend of mine, and so he's a cool guy. But I was never a Gary Sharon fan in his other work, and he only did the one album with Van Halen.
It was terrible.
But it
was terrible.
I liked it. I thought it was you know what I liked? You know what I liked about that record? Eddie approached it with a lot of he went back to the guitar, and he had, it was a new Eddie. It was like new fire for Eddie, because with me, with the Van Hagar days, that's what I call them, the Van Hagar days, or Sam Halen. For me, those were all a little bit poppy. There was a lot of keyboard in there and a lot of, I wasn't a big Sam Halen Van Hagar fan. I mean, there were some good songs in there, but for me, I liked the David Lee Roth raw early rock and roll, stuff. That for me, that was the raw stuff, the real Van Halen stuff. But I love that Sammy has a great voice. They worked together well. Good music, nothing wrong with it. But if I had to choose, I'm going to say David Lee Roth. Yeah, sorry, Sammy.
I'm a Sammy guy. I'm a Sammy guy.
Yeah.
OU 812-5150 for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Fantastic albums. 4 or
All
5 good
stuff.
songs on each album.
I
And
wouldn't
that's rare.
I wouldn't kick any of it out of bed. I'm just saying that if you're making me choose,
Yeah,
I have to
you go live with your copy from 1980, Women and Children First. Let's see how that goes for you.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. But the reason why I bring up Sammy Hagar is he's known as the Red Rocker, a big party animal, Cabo Wabo, and his Boss Tequila, the hippie lettuce, absolutely everything. And we do have a game plan here going into this. But the one thing I like about Sammy Hagar is he's an ET contactee. And he's been public with that in magazines such as Rolling Stone. So this actually leads to my question to you in regards to this. Outside of Robbie Williams, Sammy Hagar, and maybe a couple of others, there really hasn't been a lot of musicians, especially the ones who are far out there, like Ace Frehley or somebody like that, who have come out and said, I believe this stuff is real. I believe I've had contact. Yet Sammy Hagar stated in an article that ever since around in the 70s and 80s, he's been in contact with a 7th or 9th dimensional being and a lady.
Yeah.
And the song Love Walks In is actually, if you go and go to YouTube and type in the song Love Walks In lyrics.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
it's all about his ET contact.
Yeah.
So you're involved in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that being brave? Is that being brazen? Is it being stupid for one's career to be talking like that? Tell me about it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you can't go by Sammy. Sammy writes his own rules. Sammy's just, Sammy does what he wants to do. He speaks his mind. He's an intelligent guy, and I don't think anybody looks at Sammy and thinks, this guy's he's talking about aliens. I think he's nuts. I think most people's take on that is probably, maybe he did. I don't know. They don't really. Sammy's not an easy target for criticism. He's just a really sweet guy. He's a nice guy. His straight shooter, always got a smile on his face, and there's no reason to ever doubt the guy. If he claims he has experiences, well, then you kind of got to take him at his word. So that's the way I've always looked at it. And then there's other people that when they tell their story, you're kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're on your medication or not. But with Sammy, he kind of brings a little bit of legitimacy to the thing, in my opinion.
Okay, well, and that's fine and dandy, my friend. And, there's a lot of people who love, admire, and respect Sammy Hagar out there. But has the music industry, which has really become closed-minded and very electric, shall we say, and almost like computer box-ish, is it the way it is today where there's that lack of freedom that, let's say, some sort of newer artist that's out there who's trying to break through, if they came out and said something like that after their debut album, which was successful or whatever, do you think that that would harm their career, much like talking politics does in Hollywood these days?
I don't really know. That's a can of worms, really. To be honest with you, I don't know. The music business is in such disarray at the moment that, if it were a new artist, they're just struggling to pay the bills anyway, because the music business is tough right now, extremely tough. So I don't know, but I think it would be different back when, you had someone who, things were a little more, were different in the music industry in years past, where you had real organic artists who were building an image and building music, and everything wasn't overproduced and blah, 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 blah. And their personalities were very tied to their fan base. And those kind of things had more gravity. People really wanted to know what their favorite celebrity thought, and what were their political opinions, and do they have any strange idiosyncrasies like believing in elves or aliens or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I have no clue what, there's so many cookie cutter bands out there, and, I don't know that that's still a factor anymore, or how much that even, and I do think, like you say, I think everybody kind of goes with the trend, and they're not as ballsy as they used to be. That's one of the things I liked about old school Hollywood, or old school the music industry, is that one of the things that was interesting about celebrities and performers were they were people that would really go out on a limb. They were people that were different. It was part of their personality. It wasn't just an act. In other words, these people were fit for their industry because they were just wired that way. They were very eccentric people. They had very electric personalities, and they would say things that other people wouldn't say, and they would write about things that other people wouldn't say, and they would take chances that other people wouldn't say, and so they stood out, and that's part of what made them shine. And nowadays, people, like you say, they're kind of afraid to speak out about anything. Oh, I don't want to. I should go along with the group. I should, where it's complete opposite dynamic of what celebrity personalities used to be. So that's discouraging. But Sammy's old school, so he can say whatever he wants. He's kind of already grandfathered in. So
no, and I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate that. Are you surprised, though, because he is in that upper tier of musicians, and he has been for 40 years. Are you surprised that not many others have taken the same path and maybe shared their paranormal or supernatural or extraterrestrial experiences?
I don't know. I think, but I think that a lot of those people do share stories. I've noticed that, candidly, they will share their stories about ghost stories, paranormal stories, alien stories, whatever they may be. But publicly, yeah, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of it. I don't see a whole lot of that happening. And it's probably always been the same to some degree, where, they just didn't want to mix the two. In other words, they didn't want to become, because, like with Sammy, it didn't really blow up and become a big deal. But you always take that chance. If you're known for one thing, and then you come out and you say something like, hey, I had an alien experience, that could become a real big thing and kind of overshadow what else you're trying to do in your life at that time. I remember Shirley MacLaine when she came out with all of her stuff. That became Shirley MacLaine. It's kind of what you know her for now. You know what I mean? And that did affect her career. So yeah, I guess you could always say that there's always a risk there if you come out and share those kind of things. I mean, but behind the scenes, you hear the best stories, but publicly, yeah, it's,
So how many other
Not
ET
every-
contactees have you heard from behind the scenes?
behind the scenes. Personally, maybe a handful, maybe 4 or 5 notable names over the years, and they believe it wholeheartedly. That's their story, and they're committed to it. So, and they like telling the story. They just don't want to tell it publicly, I guess.
Yeah, well, and you can't blame them. They have a career to protect. That's their only income. That's their livelihood. It's not like they can go next to the office next door and hook up with something new. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They don't. The resume only goes one way. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that's always a factor with these people. But I think if you truly believe something or whatever, I don't fault anybody for sharing a story or whatever else, if they don't believe it, well, whatever. Like I say, Sammy's a good example because he came out and, like you said, he was pretty open. He was pretty open.
Yeah.
And I think he's been asked about it openly, at least in 3 or 4 interviews I've seen over the years with him, where he went into detail and talked about it at length.
I'm trying to get him on the show, man, and I'm not having much luck. His PR person doesn't love me.
Oh, who are you talking to?
His PR person on their website. I forget the person's name.
Okay. Well, I'll see what I can do. Maybe we can get him on.
Jamie, you hold on. We're going to go out to our first break of the night. Jamie Sexton's Rebel Planet happens the third Thursday of every month. We're going to get into topics next, like yesterday, big day in Canada and the world. Marijuana became legal. We're going to get some response from Jamie on the alternative side right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night, Andrea Perrin from The Conjuring joins us to talk paranormal and ET connection. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back, everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Immunoelectrophoretically. Holy cow, I think I got it. Immunoelectrophoretically is your password. I'm like sweating here. I think I may have got it. Wow. Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, you can shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store. Give it a couple of weeks. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, once again, and you can read up on the encounter online as well. The third Thursday of every month, we take a look at the alternative news side of everything going on around the world with Jamie Sexton. We call this segment The Rebel Planet. Mr. Sexton is down in the Lone Star State of Texas. Jamie, welcome back.
Howdy.
Good to have you here, man. Good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be back.
Hey, I want to
Missed you, buddy.
I missed you too. Big news out of Canada. This one took the world by storm, or by haze, whatever you want to call it, as yesterday at midnight.
In a fog.
It's been a fog up here in Canada, where marijuana became legalized. Only the second country outside of Uruguay in the world to legalize marijuana from corner to corner to corner to corner.
Yeah, the first G7 nation.
What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's, long overdue for Canada. I kind of always felt like they were going to be the first to go full tilt with this, to be honest with you. And I think they're, for the longest time, Canadians were like, well, we should just make it legal. But, it's going to go the way I think, in the United States, for years and years and years, people were like, if it ever goes legal, though, the government won't make it legal until they find a way to get involved. And so, which is true with anything else, And same with Canada. They had to get all the legalities ironed out and the taxes ironed out and all the boundaries set and blah, 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 blah. So, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's expected to bring in like $4 billion to the Canadian economy.
They're expecting by 2020 to bring in $6.5 billion in tax revenue annually.
Nice. Yeah. So that's a good shot in the arm.
It's a great shot in the arm. However, the problem with Canada is you never know where they're going to put that money. It's not like, the state of Colorado, when they legalized pot.
Right.
They laid out where that tax money was going, and they laid out how much education was getting from that tax revenue. And the tax revenue is around $1 billion a year going into the school systems to upgrade schools. I mean, that's free money. But with Canada, we never seem to do that. They haven't announced where that tax revenue is going. Who knows? With our prime minister up here, it's probably to pay off more, foreign fighters.
Yeah, not for the people kind.
Yeah, exactly. So you just, and I'm not even saying that to be sarcastic. We do not know where that dollar is going. But on the flip side, do you think?
Welcome to government.
Do you think though that other countries are going to follow suit shortly after seeing the results of what's going to happen here with Canada, or do you see it being status quo with every other nation, namely the United States? What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a barometer on that, but I will say that if it financially actually turns out to be a solid model, I think that some of the Western countries would probably go for it. I think they would before the U.S. goes full tilt with it. I think we've got, 9 states now, 8 or 9 states that are legal here. And I think that probably you'd see some of the other Western countries in Europe maybe go for it. Maybe Germany, France. You know, I could see them going for it before the U.S. goes full tilt with it. But yeah, it could be a domino effect. Like I say, I think Canada is going to be a good testing ground to see how all this plays out.
I do want to ask you, because I saw one meme, a political meme in a newspaper out of the U.S. that says Canada won the war on drugs. And for, since, the war on drugs began with Nancy Reagan and her whole idea of trying to, we all remember the commercials, the frying pan with an egg. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Right. But, new studies show that marijuana, even though I'm not a participant in it, seems to have a lot of more health benefits than what we originally thought 30 years ago. So here I'm thinking, in regards to winning the war on drugs, do you see that happening with the legalization of marijuana?
We're definitely not winning any war on drugs. Right now, the opiate crisis in the United States and in parts of Canada is just completely out of control, and it's not slowing down. And we have a huge crisis on our hand with opiates right now, opioids. So, if we're speaking seriously in a more general sense, we're definitely not winning any war on drugs whatsoever. And I don't think that. I think most people don't necessarily consider marijuana a drug, although it obviously does impair you to a certain degree. I don't think it's always been regarded on that boundary line of whether you could even classify it as a drug, because you basically just pull it out of the ground and it's a natural substance. But yeah, I mean, that whole war on drugs thing, that I saw the meme myself, so I know what you're referring to. But yeah, I think they're conflating things, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to help a drug problem, legitimate drug problems. I don't think that legalizing marijuana, despite how much good marijuana may or may not do, I think it's a completely separate issue, to be perfectly honest with you.
Do you see any sort of legalization now being studied by the United States in regards to Canada taking this lead?
Probably no more than were already in the works. Although, like I said earlier, I think they're going to probably going to keep a close eye on the model and see how it plays out, and see if it can be instituted here. But we've already, like I said, I think we have a handful of states here that it's already legal. So we've already kind of got our own study going on here to see how it plays out, and so it'll just be more data for them to chew on and see how it plays out in the long run.
Do you think it should be legal in the United States, though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally. I don't smoke marijuana, never have. But I have tons of friends that do, and I just never understood. To be perfectly honest with you, I never understood why marijuana was not legal and alcohol was. I just it just didn't make sense to me. I don't think alcohol can be extremely. Alcohol is one of the most addicting substances out there, and one of the most deadly, and obviously one of the most addicting. I mean, you can't, and the relapse rate with alcoholics is huge. So, alcohol to me has always been a more serious threat to health and impairment and all those kind of things that you could kind of compare substances that impair you a little bit. But like you said earlier, marijuana has been known, or at least suggested, over the years to have many health benefits and other things. So that's one of the things that always puzzles me is like, why is alcohol legal and marijuana isn't? It just never made any sense to me. So in that sense, yeah, I'm definitely in favor of it. To me, it comes down to a freedom issue, and it's a natural substance. I don't think anybody should have the right to tell anybody else, hey, you can't go and pick this weed out of the ground or grow a weed that grows naturally on the earth and do what you want with it. You're not synthesizing it. Now I understood the idea of not selling it to someone else, but growing it yourself, using it yourself, I never had a problem with that. I never understood the problem with it. And if it is going to be sold, I do agree with it being regulated, not because I like government involved in anything, because I don't. But if it's going to be sold, not used, like I said, if it's just a matter of using it, I'm all for anybody growing it in their backyard. But if it's going to be sold, then it does need to be regulated, because there's potential with any substance that you sell to people. There's a substance, there's a possibility for liability. You know what I mean? You could sell something that's bad for somebody. Maybe it has harmful effects for someone. You know what I mean? So if it's going to be sold, it should be sold and have some restrictions on it and have some regulations on it, unfortunately. But I'm a fan of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think it shows a maturity both in the medical industry as well as politically as well. But, I mean, in the United States, Jamie, there is a lot of old school politicians who believe it's a gateway drug, that it's the drug to hell, and religion gets involved, and everything seems to fall back on the sorts. How do you change that attitude, knowing that all the studies are showing the complete opposite of what all of the politicians who are against it are talking about?
I don't think it's an emergency to change that attitude. It's already changing. It's legal in Canada. It's legal here in 9 states. So it's changing organically the way that it should. I don't think it's one of these issues that people need to push and whatever else. I think there was a time in this country when people were really big on that. I think it's already got momentum, and I think it'll get there. I think in the United States, I think it's just a matter of time. And as far as what anybody else thinks about it, that'll go away. This is one of those issues that's going to fix itself. In other words, I don't think you need to really go out and try to change somebody's mind. I mean, on a state level, for example, in the United States, each state can lobby to do what they want to do, and the majority can have their say. And that's just the way a democratic society works.
Well,
so
I think it's ridiculous, though. That, like, for instance, cannabis is now legal in Canada.
Right.
It's legal in Washington State. It's legal in Washington State. And yet, because of the federal border, if I'm, say, a marijuana user, I can't bring my marijuana across the border because it's illegal. I mean, that's the silliness of it all.
Yeah, but that's just, that's society, man. For example, when I lived in Las Vegas, you could buy alcohol at one casino, take your drink outside, walk down the sidewalk half a mile, and hit every casino along the way with the same drink in your hand. You could cross the street, go to another casino, you could buy alcohol in the grocery store, at the convenience store, or at the alcohol store in Las Vegas 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But now that I'm back home in Texas, No alcohol sold on Sundays. No alcohol sold after midnight. No alcohol sold at certain times at grocery stores. So it's just the nature of the way societies and demographics work. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I mean, that's the way a democratic society works. Certain areas are populated with people that want to do things a certain way, and then other areas are populated with the people that the majority wants to do things another way, and that's fine. I don't think it's important that we impose our will globally. If in time the tide goes that way organically, then that's good. But it's going to be what it's going to be. Sometimes you have to pay attention to those demographics and what people want in a certain area, as opposed to making it legal for everyone. I think when the time's right, it will be, and we're seeing that already. We're seeing it happen. So,
well, you know what though? I mean, the U.S. government, the federal government, though, has to be on the lookout to see the precedents that the tax revenue marijuana is generating. I mean, let's face it, politicians are greedy. They'll take money from everywhere that they can, and they are literally sitting on, billions upon billions of dollars here.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, the legal marijuana industry last year, 2017, took in less than $9 billion in sales, which is significant, but it's not going to break the bank for the United States. It's, you know what I mean? I mean, the revenue from that is equivalent to the entire snack bar industry, there's probably a correlation there. But, it's not going to break or it's not going to make or break the American economy. Marijuana sales they're not going to do that. But in time, like I said, if it organically grows and enough people partake, it can become a substantial, engine in the economy. But, when it's, like I said, when the time is right, it will. Sometimes you just have to follow the organic path of things. And in this case, I think that's exactly what you're seeing. When the world is ready to do that, it'll do that. Canada, it makes sense to me, perfect sense to me, that Canada would go full legal with marijuana before all of the United States will. I could have guessed that one. And, I'm sure that within the next 5-10 years, it'll be completely legal everywhere in the United States for recreational use. And there'll probably be all kinds of taxes on it, both in Canada and in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about time.
Yeah, they're going to dream up tax upon tax upon tax for marijuana. You can be sure of that.
Oh, I totally believe that. And either way, I mean, in Canada yesterday, there was the first person in Winnipeg to be issued a $672 ticket for smoking pot while driving.
Token and rolling.
Exactly. That was an expensive. Yep. That's an expensive first. And
token roll. Don't token roll, people.
And the way Canadians are, we like to gouge our people. Okay, we really do. And right now, marijuana right now at the dispensaries is actually more expensive by an ounce than gold is.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the difference is around $2 to $3 an ounce more right now for marijuana than it is gold in certain parts of the country.
So those taxes are already at play.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to marijuana being legal. I'm very much for it, but I sure as hell am not investing in marijuana when I can invest in gold.
Right. Yeah. Well, like I said, these things are going to have to level off and play themselves out and see, this is a new model. So let's see what happens.
Oh, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes. There will be.
Oh, yeah. I think there's things that we will probably develop and transpire and materialize that we didn't even contemplate when for decades and decades people were wanting marijuana to be legal. Now that it is becoming legal in certain areas, I think we'll start to see some things probably materialize that we never even contemplated. Oh, well, we never thought of that. So, but let's see how it works. But overall, you asked my opinion about it. I think it's a good thing. So far it looks like a good thing. I don't think that anyone should be punished for partaking in something that's that natural. I don't, because it doesn't do anything for me. I think I tried to smoke pot one time in my life, once, and it gave me the worst headache ever. And that was just enough for me. I'm like, well, I don't need to feel like that again. So, but for a lot of people, they quite enjoy it. And then there are people that swear by it for things like pain relief and all sorts of medicinal reasons. So, go for it. I don't have a problem with it.
I can remember one of the first times I tried marijuana, I got the munchies bad, real bad. And I said to my buddy Steve, Steve, we got to go to Subway. I said, I'm hungry. I polished off 2-foot-long pizza subs, and I was debating on whether or not to get a third sub when I realized, when it finally kicked in, that maybe I shouldn't be getting that 3-foot-long sub. That's how ridiculous it got for me.
That's nuts.
But I also know a lot of people who use it for pain relief. We have listeners, like, I have a lot of friends who use it for pain relief. My own daughter uses marijuana to help control her anxiety and her depression, which she is chronic with, and it is terrible what she goes through when she's, she's only 19 years old having to go through this, right? So she's like, Dad, I have to smoke marijuana for this. It calms my nerves. I'm like, do it. She's like, really? I didn't expect you to say that. I'm like, no, dude. I'm a full proponent for it.
Yeah, I have an aunt that loves it. Says it helps her with her back pain and neck pain. So good. I think that's awesome.
Well, we'll soon see. We'll soon see. Go ahead.
It's not gonna change my appetite for it, but if that's what they want to do, get into it, man. Go for it.
Oh yeah, just spark it up.
My what my curiosity with it is, Dave, is so how is this going to affect the illegal drug market? That's my big curiosity right now with this. Is it going to put drug dealers out of business? Pot dealers. That's my big question. And the growers, are the growers still trying to peddle to their street dealers, or are they say no, we're going legit now. We're selling to distributors. You know what I mean? We can't deal with you anymore. You know what I mean? That's. I'm curious about some of those things. How all that's going to play out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. And the way it plays out with everything from products to food items.
Right. Because even though it's legal and it's legal for recreation, it's still regulated. So if you're selling it illegally, in other words, if you're not selling it to a licensed distributor of it, then you're still breaking the law, I'm assuming, and you're still probably gonna you're still gonna face some charges. Now you're probably even opening yourself up for civil liability from legitimate pot dealers. You know what I mean? What's that going to look like when you have the first the first civil lawsuit of a pot dealer, a licensed one, suing an unlicensed pot dealer, stealing business from him.
Well, I mean, who knows how it's going to play out? And that's the thing. We just don't know. We really do not know how it's going to play out. Right? I mean...
That's right.
But
meanwhile, don't token roll.
Yeah, don't be doing that. Don't be stupid just because it has a different effect than alcohol does. You still don't get behind the wheel when you're impaired.
Right. We don't want to be driving behind you when you're going 5 miles an hour on the freeway.
Exactly. That's about it. Swerving all over with the Bob Marley cranked.
Yeah.
We're going to move on here to another story because it's pretty much time. Weird situation happened with YouTube this past week where YouTube crashed. Now, to have a website crash on something, I mean, that's not out of the ordinary. It could be that there's a server crash. It could be that there's a hacking incident. However, when you get to the status of YouTube or Google or Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever it may be, that's a whole different ballgame, man, when one of these giants decides to crash. Did you look into this at all?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I mean, there's not much information on it. There was a peculiar side story associated with the crash of YouTube. That supposedly right before the crash, there was a video that apparently, according to some sources, was going viral. It was a short video of a live stream on YouTube where people claimed something was going to hit the moon. And as that video was going viral, that's when YouTube crashed. So a lot of people tried to make the correlation there. I'm not sure there was a correlation. And for some time, even after YouTube came back up, that video was scrubbed. It was missing, and you couldn't see it. Now the video is resurfaced, and the original video, the original posting of it that went viral, and all the subsequent viral postings of it were gone. So that was really peculiar. Personally, I don't think there was a correlation, but that's the big story. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little weird that something like that can happen. I mean, YouTube really hasn't come out and issued a statement. All they've really said is, sorry, something went wrong. A team of highly trained monkeys has been dispatched to deal with this situation. That's literally the release that YouTube gave. And then afterwards they said, thank you for the reports about YouTube TV, and YouTube Music access issues. We're working on resolving this, and we'll let you know once it's fixed. We apologize for any inconvenience. And that's kind of where it kind of stayed. So do you think they were hacked? Or do you think that they just had a malfunction that sometimes happens with computers?
Yeah, it's hard to say. There's when you're dealing with a tech company like that, you just never. I mean, the giants do have problems from time to time. Facebook had a hacking problem a few weeks ago, and I think it was a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, Facebook completely crashed for a little while. And, so these tech companies, as big as they are and as big as their database, their data centers are, their mainframe can still go down from time to time. It's a peculiar thing, but it does happen. I think it's just one of those things. When it does, everybody's going to, you're going to see a flurry of conspiracy theories around that. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a new part of our culture that YouTube was down for 10 minutes. What happened? So I think that's part of probably what's going on. But most likely it was just a technical crash. If it was a hack, usually they publicize hacks, if they were hacked. And the reason they do, I think, is because they almost have to, per some of their terms and agreement things for legalities. In other words, if someone is hacked, it becomes a security issue, not only for the company but for their users. So I think they feel some sense of obligation if it's not mandated that they have to let you know if there was a hack.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they had to let you know. I guess for personal information, they have
right.
to.
Right, they need to let you know.
Requires a personal account now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happened a few weeks ago with Facebook. They had to reset. I think it was something like 50 million accounts were compromised, if I'm correct, and they actually reset 90 million accounts, if not more. And then you had to log in. All those users that their accounts were reset, you had to log in again. Because they have Facebook has that thing where you can opt to stay logged in. So whenever you hit the Facebook icon, you're already logged in.
Yes.
But that can pose a security risk if someone hacks the site, because that's theoretically. So I think as a matter of precaution, when they realized they were hacked, they went ahead and reset all those accounts. So I was affected in the sense that I had to log in. Yeah, I had to log in. So I said, why am I having to log in and everything? And interestingly enough, I had to log in every device, laptop, 2 computers, phone, tablet, all of it. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, with the amount of posts, I know like all of our archives are posted on YouTube. It's, if our YouTube page went down, it would piss me off, obviously. It would absolutely piss me off because that's a lot of hard work that I'm not going to be able to get back.
Oh, absolutely.
But nonetheless, we're not putting things on there. Like we're not making any money off of our YouTube channel, much like a lot of these people are, where they have these privacy accounts, they have these financial accounts opened up, and that's where the danger part is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's a lot of personal information that's shared, on these things. A lot of it happens in the verification process when you're signing up for one of these sites. They want to know your phone number and your email, and a lot of people tend to use the same password with everything. So they'll use whatever their password is for their email whenever they sign up for Facebook or another thing. It's a common thing that people will, so they don't have to remember a million passwords. They'll just use the same password for everything. So there is a lot of personal information that can be gleaned if someone hacks a site, and theoretically it could leave a bit, it could pose a risk for a lot of people. So I think because of that, anytime they verify that there's a hack or a potential hack, I think as a matter of practice, these big tech companies actually do let the public know, so they don't, you know what I mean? They just want to lessen their liability there, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. But it also came, I don't know if you saw this, it came on the same day that Twitter also had a major malfunction, sending out strange spam notifications to mobile devices around the world.
I was not aware of that one.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if the two are correlated.
Interesting. Same day, you say?
I don't know. I don't know. But do you think that any hacker would love to get into any one of these social media sites for obvious reasons. But do you think that that maybe, just maybe, that the technology, because of the amount of usage and the reliance that people now have on social media, with, Facebook being the number one visited site in the world, YouTube being number 2, that maybe the technology cannot handle the amount of usage?
Well, that's science, and they pretty much have that down. I mean, they can measure those things quite effectively, and they leave themselves a whole lot of headroom with that type of thing. So I wouldn't guess that you're going to have crashes because of usage with these big companies. I mean, that's kind of built into their design, and they keep expanding their data centers and building new ones to handle that load and everything else. So that's their business. I don't think that overusage would do that to one of these sites, especially Facebook or YouTube. If you've ever seen their data centers, they are crazy.
Oh, they're miles long.
Crazy.
They're massive. They're massive.
Yeah.
It is absolutely ridiculous how big they are.
It's mind-boggling. Yeah.
Now here's an
so
interesting...
no, I don't think that was good.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you finish up.
Yeah, I don't think that would be it. I would think when they go down, I would think that it's something that, like a glitch. In other words, a technical glitch in the main, in their mainframe, or a hack, or sometimes, if they have a main provider, you know what I mean? Because everything, these giant companies, they still have to all have one face. In other words, although all that data is kept in different locations around the world and lives on different servers and yada yada yada, it all kind of bottlenecks in presentation in some respects. So typically, if you see a crash of the whole site, I would think if it's a technical issue, it'd probably be something around that bottleneck area, like just a technical mistake, or maybe even equipment failure, So who knows?
We're going to move on to another story here, and this one's kind of interesting because the field of ufology has lost two major people recently. Sergeant Bob Dean, or Robert Dean, he came out publicly saying that he saw private military UFO files when in service. And then today, if you go to spacedoutradio.com, you can click on the link to it. But today, another former United States military soldier, gentleman by the name of Carl Wolf, considered a whistleblower of sorts, wasn't killed today, pardon me. He was killed back on October 10th, which was 8 days ago. While riding his bike, he was hit from behind by a tractor trailer in New York. Now, Carl's claim to fame, another Carl, this Carl with a K, not Carl with a C. Basically, He came out stating that while he was serving in the military, he saw top secret photos of alien bases on the far side of the moon. And he was very public and adamant about that. So, with Bob Dean passing away and now Carl Wolf, do we think that maybe, once again, the tinfoil hats come out and you think, are they getting these guys now because the field of ufology in the past 12 months has become very, very popular and very competitive?
Well, you just never know. You just never know. Now, his claim, like you said, his claim to fame was that he supposedly saw photos of an alien base on the moon. But when did he actually make that claim?
Oh, goodness.
Long ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he worked in the military in the mid-1960s where he had top-secret clearance.
Right.
And I believe it was 2001 that he came forward.
Okay, 2000. Right. So these aren't new claims, so it's not... I don't know. I mean, it's not like he came out with new information and, that he poses a new threat to, to the forces that be. I wouldn't think.
I mean, could very well be an accident. I mean, things happen. Things happen to popular people. You know, whether it's diseases as horrendous as cancer, or whether it's accidents like being hit by a semi-truck while riding your bike on the highway. Things happen. But because
if he was in the military in the 60s, I'm going to guess he's in his late 60s or 70s. He's somewhere in there. He's out riding a bike. He probably doesn't hear very well, you know. So who knows?
So the story goes like this, that apparently when he was serving for Tactical Air Command at Langley Air Force Base, he was told by a superior to report to the NSA facility on the base to look at some photo imagery of the first lunar orbit mission. When he reported there, they had him do something else, which apparently, allegedly, he described as he went into a large hangar-type building with many foreign citizens, and they showed him these photographs where another enlisted man said, "What do you think about this?" And it looked like there was a base on the dark side of the moon.
Well, he's not the only one that's ever claimed that. Other people have claimed that as well, haven't they?
Yeah, there's been a couple.
Yeah,
they
claim.
But I mean, you know, you could only take it for what it's worth, right? You can only take it for the message.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he didn't produce the photos, so it was his story that he saw photos, right?
Yes.
He's never published any photos, correct?
No, I mean, they're top secret.
Right.
There's no way he could have got them out, right?
Right.
But should something like this heighten the fact that there are people out there who are willing to speak if the public is willing to listen?
Oh, yeah. I you know, like you said weeks ago, I think that the closer we get to disclosure on information, the better. You know, I've said this forever. It's like if you know something, just tell the public. Stop hiding it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know that I would think that I don't think his death would have anything to do with a 2001 story, though. But the sad part is that his story kind of dies with him, since he doesn't have anything to show us, no photos or anything else, you know. So that's unfortunate.
It very much is unfortunate. But, you know, nonetheless, it's another blow to the community where another of these whistleblowers is no longer there, or another one of these top researchers is no longer there. And that's where there's a little bit of a problem. We're going to move on here, my friend. This one is, and I want to pick your brain in regards to this topic, because as a father, I'm not too sure what to truly think about this. But there is now a movement by a bunch of Hollywood stars that they are no longer allowing their children, especially their daughters, from watching Disney movies because they are sexist. So one of the quotes comes from actress Kristen Bell, who blasted Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as a film that sends a bad message to young girls.
And what was the message?
She said that the prince kissed Snow White at the end without consent.
Okay.
You laugh at it, but this is true.
Oh, no doubt.
Keira Knightley, who we all know from Pirates of the Caribbean, and I believe Star Wars as well, recently said publicly her daughter is not allowed to watch Cinderella because of how it shows a masculine character saving a woman.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. And you don't see an agenda there?
Well, look, I mean, these cartoons are 70 years old, some of them.
Right.
Right? They're pieces of modern history with color film and color movies.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just as bad as kids today don't get to watch Tom and Jerry or certain Bugs Bunny cartoons or Wile E. Coyote versus Roadrunner because of the violence or there was, you know, certain cartoons where the character was smoking a cigarette.
Right. But they're legalizing marijuana, which you can smoke, and you can play video games that are so realistic you feel like you're at war and you can blow somebody to smithereens. So you can't watch Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner for violence, but you can shoot somebody on a video game, and you can't watch a cartoon smoking, but you can. But none of it makes.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we're getting.
Yeah,
at.
What we're up against is a whole lot of nutso social justice warrior crap where everybody thinks that they've got to take up some kind of cause and, oh my goodness, Cinderella. What is it? Seven Dwarfs? Who stole the kiss? I forget something with
in Snow White and Seven Dwarfs because she gets put to sleep after eating the poison apple.
Right.
Right. And because Prince Charming? I've never seen Snow White.
Yeah, now that's a Cosby thing, right?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go down that road. I mean, that's, you know, not. I mean, Bill's no longer getting his pudding pops, but this is reality here, my friend. I mean, blaming a Disney cartoon that's 70 years old.
Ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean,
I was trying to hone in on the example you told me about who stole the kiss at the end. Which film is that? You used an example without permission, without consent.
Yeah, that was Prince Charming in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, okay, right. I see.
And then the other one was Keira Knightley.
But in the film though. Wasn't there a romantic buildup throughout the whole film between Snow White and the Prince?
A little bit. Cinderella was pretty much the exact same way.
Right. I think there was a romantic sort of atmosphere between those two characters for the entire film. I mean, that's the story. That is the story, actually. It's a love story. That's really what it is, you know. So, I don't know. I don't know what the message here is. I mean, I think what happens is they're conflating a whole lot of things that are ridiculous. I mean, I think they're trying to imply the message that men should not exercise any sort of chivalry towards women or take the initiative with women, even when the atmosphere of romance is there. And I don't know, it seems a little odd to me. I mean, I think they're trying to imply that the male characters in these stories are taking liberties with these women, and I don't know. Is romance dead? Is that the thing?
Well, you know what?
Somebody was joking with me.
As a father of two daughters, I empower my daughters to be as strong and as knowledgeable and as forceful as they can in life, because anything I can do, I know my kids can do better.
Absolutely.
You know, and my daughter, I'm blessed with brilliant daughters who are...
Well, you always want the next generation to do better than you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, you know, the other side of me says, at no time have I ever taught them to be pissed off because a movie shows a woman in an inferior role. You know, if they've asked about it,
right? But
I've always said to them point blank, you know, everybody can help everybody. I mean, the role could have been reversed. If the role was...
but you use the word inferior, and I think that's where we take a wrong turn here. That's what's so foreign to me with all these weird messages that we're sending people. Who says that women are inferior? I mean, exactly. if a man is physically stronger, if a particular man happens to be stronger than a particular woman, and statistics show that most men are physically, you know, built with bigger stature and frames and more muscle mass, etc. I mean, that's just the nature of our species. Then if a woman is struggling and a man rescues her or comes to her aid, was he not allowed to do that anymore? I mean, or if there's a romantic story being built up between a male and female character, the male isn't supposed to, at some point, one of the two of them has to initiate romance, don't they? At some point in every date that ever existed, one of the other person reaches over and holds the other one's hand or tries to steal a kiss or something. You know, there's always that awkward moment. Otherwise, none of us would be here if somebody didn't act on romance. Mm-hmm. Now, nobody wants to
hold that thought, Jamie.
Nobody in their right mind condones someone doing something against some's will. But that's what
your phone's breaking up.
I'm trying to suggest that.
Your phone's breaking up. Jamie, your phone's breaking up, and we got to go to a break here. So I'm going to get you to hold on. We can continue this one after the break. Jamie Sexton from the Rebel Planet is here. He comes in the third Thursday of every month with our feature called The Rebel Planet. Of course, we'll be back with more of Jamie right after this. If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's the encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter, Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you looking to keep up with Spaced Out Radio? What better way to do so than to go shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store? It's a great place to get exciting swag that will make you look good. We have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and so much more for you to dress yourself up with. All you have to do is go on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the store, and get what you want. It's that simple. So come shop at our store, where we can own the night together.
From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to all of you around the world, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I invite you to stick around spacedoutradio.com for Saturday and Sunday nights where I host Spaced Out Weekend. Let me take you on a wild ride of weird and strange topics, from ghosts and ETs to remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and so much more. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time on Spaced Out Weekend, where we own the night.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Andrea Perrin. You may know her from the original The Conjuring movie. Her family was involved in that. Well, she joins us to take part in Paranormal and Extraterrestrial Talk. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Immunoelectrophoretically. I can't believe I got it right tonight. But Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Now, we were having some Skype issues there with Jamie Sexton from the Rebel Planet. I think he's trying to reboot his computer right now, so we don't have Jamie with us. So we're going to continue on in the show here in regards to the news before we get to the bottom of the hour, where we will be joined by Olaf Phillips, which is always an interesting type conversation. Right before the break, we were talking about Disney films and how, and I realize it's not paranormal, but the one night of the week or one night of the month where we don't really talk a lot of paranormal, weird, woo-woo type stuff, and I realize our fans of peak woo just will not be interested in that. But how do you feel about the classic Disney movies? Cinderella, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Are they politically incorrect? Too politically incorrect for society these days? What's your thoughts? There's a lot of people out there who believe that they're sexist, that they show damsels in distress. And look, I have daughters, and I want my daughters to be empowered. I want them to be able to realize that they can do anything in this world that they want. One of my daughters, she wants to do something that has been a male-dominated job for a long, long time. Yes, there's females doing it, but she wants to do it. And of course, we're saying you can do anything that you want. Go for it. Why wouldn't you? Women are just as qualified as men for absolutely everything. And for the most part, a woman can usually do it better. Look at my household. If it wasn't for Mrs. SOR, I'd be in the same clothes that I've been in for the last 7 days. But I'm not. Right? I mean, yeah, I'm trying to make a little light of it. But the reality is, I think it's not the problem, like with Cinderella or with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I don't think it's the problem of the fact that it's the movies as much as it is the I'm offended society picking on Disney now for this. And Keira Knightley, who starred in some big budget films where she was the result of a lot of men dying, for her to say that she will not let her daughter watch Cinderella because it shows a masculine character saving a woman, is that pushing the political correctness too far? Is that making an issue out of something that really, really does not want or does not necessarily need to be an issue? I mean, that's kind of what I go by. Do I want my daughter stressing out about a Disney movie that's 70 years old? No, I want them to enjoy it. Enjoy the classic for what it's worth. That's what I want. Right? That's exactly what I want. Looks like we have Jamie Sexton back with us now. Jamie, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, we
I
got
am.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Sounds like you got a fan
Yes,
going
system.
on in the background, though. Did you turn the air conditioning on?
No. That is the mothership. One moment.
Is that Carl?
That's Carl. He's waiting for you.
Well, about time. About time. Anyways, Jamie, while we wait for you here, I want to get to a comment from Jeff on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. He says, a parent's job is to discuss these things with their kids and helping them to understand what type of behavior, way of life is appropriate and what isn't. Absolutely it is. Absolutely. But we also want our children to be able to grow. Doesn't matter whether they're male, female, or transgender or whatever it is. We want them to grow independent and strong and not to be pushed around or offended by every little thing that society before them created. We have a right to do that too.
I think that we struggle with these things right now because we don't I think a lot of people don't really see it for what it is. So a lot of fair-minded people are trying to take a position on what's the right thing to do. And you see a lot of people struggling to do the right thing and be fair-minded and take it all in and process it. And which is good. You know, that's what good people do. But I think that people are hesitant and reluctant to see it for what it is, in my opinion. In my opinion, what you're seeing is social engineering. And it's disgusting. I think what they're doing is, with a lot of this social engineering, is dehumanizing people. They're taking things that are natural inclinations and natural dynamics between human beings and flipping everything on its head and trying to make things what they're not. And I see harm in it. I see that it can do a lot of damage and confuse a lot of people and hurt people and push us further and further apart from each other. It's almost as if they're looking for anything in traditional culture at all and trying to do away with it or flip it completely something just very bizarre and wrong with that. They're trying to erase history,
but it's
erase
also
culture.
Jamie, it's also about jumping on the bandwagon too. We are a bunch we're a bunch of bandwagon jumpers, whether it's sports, whether it's the news of the day, or whether I'm offended on the headline.
Yes. Well, that's the organic effect of it. So, sometimes these things will be designed and engineered, and then when they're set into motion, right? Then they become then the organic effect takes over, right? So all you have to do is, have a few well-placed spokespeople come out and endorse some new phrase or some new trend or some new social standard. And, and then the next thing you know, people are like, oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And then the organic effect takes over. Because, as you said, everybody's a bandwagon. They're sheep. They're bandwagon jumpers. And they don't know what direction to go. And nobody's standing up for their traditional values or, I personally, I see a lot of lost people. They don't know what direction to go. So they just start following the herd like a bunch of birds, one bird in the flock changes direction, and everybody goes along with them. They don't even know why they did it. They just do it. And
how much?
I don't know. It doesn't seem very.
Jamie, how much though has the headline? How much though has the headline society and everybody being a Google expert on everything now? How much has that changed the outlooks and opinions on things?
Well, I think that everybody does consider themselves an expert through Google University. They'll type something up, and what the interesting thing about that is that people tend to stay within their own echo chamber and within their own vacuum. So if someone has a particular political slant or a particular mindset or ideology, they tend to look up, even in a Google search. The way, studies have been done on this, where people will, when they type in a search, they'll type it in a way that slants towards their beliefs. Like, if you disagree with a particular political candidate, let's say Joe Blow, you'd say, type in, somebody says, well, what about Joe Blow telling all those lies? And so you type in lies that Joe Blow told. You know what I mean? And so you're going to get a whole bunch of returns about that, as opposed to anything really objective. You know what I mean? That's the best analogy I could come up on on short notice. But my point is, people tend to stay within their own echo chambers, and they'll even do their research that way. And so the information, it's almost like the difference between watching Fox News versus CNN or MSNBC. People tend to watch the news, quote unquote, news channels that slant towards their bias. So they're not really getting a different opinion. They're just getting a reiteration of what they already believe. And the same thing happens on social media. The same things happens with their Google searches and everything else. And so people tend to think of themselves as very informed, but they're dismissing their own bias in that. And then they'll get online and start having debates with other people, political debates, social debates, and other things. And they're really just self-indoctrinated into one particular bias, because all of their research, was geared towards that belief to begin with. So, it's become a powerful thing, but I don't necessarily consider that we're necessarily more informed. And the reason for that is because there's a whole lot of misinformation. And then you have websites out there like Snopes that claim to be fact checkers, when we know that Snopes is actually a biased website. So most of what Snopes verifies or their claims on things are actually politically biased one direction. But people actually go to Snopes thinking, well, if I want to know if this is true or not, I'll go to Snopes. They'll tell me the truth. And that's actually not true. So, it's a treacherous world out there to find the truth in some of these environments.
Yeah, and right now it shows no place it's stopping. No place it's stopping. Because
I don't
here's the problem. Whether it's something like Disney, or whether it's marijuana, or whatever it is, whatever your cause is, the problem that we have with social media and Googling everything and being a Google expert or going to Google University, whatever cliche you want to use, there's always a website, there's always a story, there's always an article that supports your cause on there. Exactly. And that could also be blamed not just on the internet or Google, because that's just a search engine. Right. But it can be blamed on the fact that journalists or op-eds or columnists, whatever you want to call them, bloggers, they are not telling both sides of the story anymore, Jamie.
Well, that's true. Although I would not let Google and other tech companies off the hook that easy, because they do have a political bias that's been proven. And so they do things like throttle information and put other search results ahead of others. And they openly admit this now. So it's not even a conspiracy theory. They openly admit it. So there is also that factor. is that they can dictate what you learn at Google University. In other words, their curriculum is what's going to be put first. So again, it's a treacherous world out there, and I see a lot of people on all sides of things who like to toss around the term critical thinking. Well, and I see it all over social media when people start to have debates about things, especially politics. They'll throw out terms like, well, if you're not capable of critical thinking, and most of these people that spew that are just parroting phrases anyway that they've seen. In other words, their position is just something that they've seen in their own echo chamber. Critical thinking, if one really wants to use that, is getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside of that box, and being objective, looking at all sides and exploring and really looking at all the information and evaluating it on your own without bias. That's critical thinking. But like you say, everybody gets online and thinks they're an expert on topics without even considering the other point of view. Now, if you have considered the other point of view and you've done your due diligence and you've researched whatever it is you're researching objectively, fine. And you arrive at a position, fine. It's okay to have a position. Be passionate about a position. It's okay to share your position, to express that. That's freedom. Do your thing. I think where it becomes a problem is when you try to impose your position on other people. That's when it becomes a problem, because now you're using your freedom to take away someone else's freedom, and that's not good. If you say, well, we believe this and you're an idiot, it's like, well, wait a minute, I believe this. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you not what to believe. Please don't tell me what to believe. And we need more of that. We need to get to the place where if you disagree, then you just agree to disagree, and there's room for everybody. We have too much social imposition now, where people are out there trying to impose what they believe is good for the greater good, and therefore, if you don't go along with that, you're an evil, bad person. That's going to get us in trouble really, really fast. In fact, we already see that happening. So that's some of the danger in that.
Yeah, and I think that has to be questioned. I mean, it's not putting down a part of society or putting down people's personal beliefs, but we still have to have an open mind. And that's what it comes to. I mean,
right.
I don't like macaroni and cheese. I've never had we had this debate at dinner tonight about macaroni and cheese, and I hate it. I've never liked it. I tried it as a kid. I couldn't stand it. And
but who in your elected?
Everybody else.
But so
right. But I mean, that's not going to stop me from saying to my family, you can't make macaroni and cheese. Now, if we're talking fish, that's going to stink up the whole house. Absolutely. I don't eat fish. Right? So I mean, if you're cooking a salmon or a piece of cod that's going to stink up my entire house, wait until I'm gone for the day. Right? Because I can't stand the smell.
Right. That's a good compliment.
But I don't get offended by it. I don't say, no, you can't have fish anymore because I don't like it. That's not the way it works.
You're saying just don't impose upon me with residual effects of what you do. So, if you want to eat fish, I certainly am not arguing that you don't have the right to do that. That would be crazy.
Exactly.
Please just don't force me. And again, the subsequent effects of you cooking your fish, please minimize the effects that has on me in my day, in my environment. So but we don't have that in society. What we have now is a whole lot of imposition where people go out with these big-minded ideas about, well, we're tired of this, and this is the new way, and everybody's got to do it this way, and if you don't call me or address me by this or that, or if you don't accept this or accept that, or you don't do it this way, then you're this name and you're that label, and that's no. That's no. It's one thing to ask to be accepted. It's another thing to ask that I participate. You know what I mean? I don't need to participate. You do what you want, and I'll do what I want. So the macaroni and cheese thing is a good example. My brother loves macaroni and cheese. I'm not a big fan of it myself. So, but yeah, that's a perfect analogy, because you're not saying to anyone, you can't have macaroni and cheese. Please just don't insist that I do.
Exactly, and that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down
and
to, is compromise, and that's where we have a problem. Is there's no more compromising anymore with people who are offended by topics.
Right, and I take it a step further and say you have a right to say that you publicly and privately that you don't like macaroni and cheese, without everybody gasping and calling you a macaroni and cheese hater. You know what I mean? You don't need to be burned at the stake because you don't like macaroni and cheese. You don't have macophobia. You just don't prefer it.
But that's exactly it. So why make an issue out of a Disney movie? Getting back on topic.
Right. I think that these things, they never fail to use celebrities to push these social agendas, because celebrities have fan bases and they garner the attention of the press. And, what did Batman say now? What did Keira Knightley say now? What did Johnny Depp say now? Let's all look. And so it becomes a story of the day. And so whatever message they spew out on any given day makes the headlines, and millions of people are guaranteed to get that message and weigh in on it. And and they always study it out ahead of time, So this whole Disney thing or Prince Charming or whatever it's just more of the Me Too thing. And, I just see through with a lot of it. I see that they're trying to emasculate men. That's what I see. I see a big emasculation effect. They're trying to emasculate men. They're trying to do away with Western culture. They're trying to, it's a lot of it is very, very pointed and very deliberate, and it's I'm not a big fan of it.
My friend, we only got about 2 minutes left with you tonight. So I want to say thank you for coming back on the show, because the next time you were on will be Thursday, November 15th, which should be really,
November
really good.
what?
15th.
Oh, the 15th. Okay.
1-5. Comes after 14.
Right, yeah. Before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
But we're going to have you back then for the Rebel Planet, my friend. So I appreciate you taking the time and filling us in on the news. What's an update on the Rebel Planet?
We're doing all right now, working with sponsors, trying to get all that in line. But we're all teed off to launch as soon as we get some of the legalities ironed out, and we'll be up and running.
Good stuff. I always appreciate your time, my friend. Always appreciate your time.
Good to be here, Dave. Love you, man. And we'll see everybody next time.
Absolutely. Jamie Sexton from the Rebel Planet here on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, we have Olaf Phillips with another edition of The Encounter from the editor of Paranoia Magazine.
This is the winter of our lives. We come to play the final scene. The curtains closing in the darkness we expose what lies beneath.
It's that time of the night once again where we get to the encounter online, where we talk about the weird, the strange, the WTF of the day. You can read up on the encounter at spacedoutradio.com, click on the news section, or on our Facebook page, which is SOR The Encounter. And of course, we have Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine on with us, paranoiamagazine.com. Mr. Phillips, what's going on, man?
Not much. How about you?
Just living the dream today. Living the dream.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting
Yes,
sick of
living the
splitting
dream.
firewood, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting sick of it.
Were you wearing plaid this time or, not being Canadian?
No, I wore plaid, but it got
Okay,
warm.
good.
It got warm, so I had to take my
It's
plaid
okay.
jacket off.
Plaid is one of those things where it's self-cooling. You just feel cool wearing it.
Says the guy who has 58 different plaid designs in his closet right now hanging.
I sure do. Damn straight. It's actually funny. I live in the Bay Area near San Francisco, right? And people often ask me, they're like, oh, you like the outdoors and you like Bigfoot and you like all that kind of stuff. I said, yep. They say, oh, what kind of outdoorsy kind of person are you? Because here there's a lot. Some people like glamping, some people like camping. It's all very confused. And I always tell people, I'm a little more Carhartt than I am North Face.
See, that's just rebellion right there.
Yeah, I'm the Carhartt wearer in the sea of North Face here. So.
Wow. You live a rebellious
Standing
life.
up.
You live a rebellious life. Unbelievable.
I'm wearing my Carhartt shorts and a Carhartt shirt right now, and my McMinimans UFO shirt.
Nice. Very nice.
Born rebel.
Earlier on with Jamie Sexton, I asked him about Sammy Hagar, who turned 71 this past week, and is a very notable ET contactee. How much would the field change, my friend, if more people of fame and fortune came out publicly with their contact?
I don't know. There are a lot of famous people who have seen stuff, ghosts, UFOs, who come out about it. And I don't know if it would really change it that much at this point. Jimmy Carter filed a report with MUFON, Sammy Hagar. Dan Aykroyd. There are a lot of people who are very famous, Robbie Williams. There are a lot of people who have seen stuff or experienced stuff who come out about it. And I think it helps public perception. I think it makes people feel like it's okay to admit that you maybe saw something or experienced something. But I don't know. I don't know if I think it helps it every time, but I don't know that it would make a massive difference. I think at this point, most people believe in it anyway. So, it just adds fuel to the fire.
No kidding.
Just don't try 55.
Yeah, well, it's 65 now, is it not?
Yeah, it's 65 now, but you got that song. I can't try 55.
I prefer the Moss Tequila. Moss Tequila.
Well, I was going to say he's also a master tequila maker, contactee and tequila maker.
Let's get to the news of the night. Tell us what's weird and strange going on in our world.
Well, the first one, it was actually sent to me by you, and it's funny. It reminds me of a TV show I used to watch years ago called Police Squad. You ever seen Police Squad? They have that up there?
I do remember it.
One of my favorite episodes of Police Squad, there's a car accident, and Leslie Nielsen tells the other guy, I forget the other guy's name, but he said, hey, you better call for a tow truck. And, Police Squad's the kind of show where you always had to watch what was going on in the background. And this tow rolls down the street and picks up the car and takes it away. Well, in this case, as you sent me, a 50-pound nose was stolen off a Portland family's porch. Portland, Oregon. Some siblings in Portland's Eastmoreland neighborhood put their piggy bank together, $6.27 to be exact, hoping to reward money. The reward money will get a stolen nose back home. The 50-pound nose was taken from the front porch of the Southeast Portland home either Sunday night or Monday morning, reports KPTV. The Albert family kids just put up flyers in their neighborhood about their stolen nose. Sayer, Dylan, and Cannon want their family's porch decoration back. Yes, or it says, like, literally, it's on our porch every day, and people walk by, they comment on it like, oh, look at the nose. What's that all about, Dylan said. So somebody stole a 50-pound nose off their front porch.
Obviously, this sounds like a college or high school prank.
Maybe not. Now, I do know of another story that happened in Southern Oregon where a family had a cabin. This actually happened not far from where my land is. A family had a cabin, and they drove up to go stay in the cabin one day, and the cabin was gone. The whole cabin was gone. And they looked around, and the cabin's gone, and so they filed a police report, and the police actually found the cabin a mile and a half away. Somebody had actually picked the cabin up, put it on a truck, and driven it a mile and a half down the road. I think they just like to steal big, heavy stuff in Oregon.
Yeah, but what are you going to do with a nose? Like there's a giant nose.
You know?
It's
I don't
not
know.
a centerpiece on a coffee table, man.
It could be.
Yeah, at a college frat house.
I don't know. I'd put a 50-pound nose on my coffee, too.
I don't know. I really don't know.
50-pound nose missing. $6.27 reward.
What's the value of a 50-pound nose? It's got to be worth more than $6.27.
I have no idea. According to the article, their dad works in advertising, and they were going through the junk pile and found in his office and found a 50-pound nose. So I don't know. I don't know what the going rate on a 50-pound nose is. I'll have to check eBay.
My goodness. That's just hilarious. Well, I hope the nose turns up.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Lord knows the house needs to breathe. With a
Yes,
big bottle
and
of Otrivin coming through.
And the kids want their nose back.
Exactly.
Yep.
Let's get to story number 2.
Police use Doritos to lure mini horse-sized pig home. This comes from UPI. October 15th, police in California said they used a bag of Doritos to capture a junk food-loving pig the size of a mini horse. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office said deputies Ponce and Berg were dispatched from the Highland Station on Sunday on the report of a pig the size of a mini horse running loose through the neighborhood. A video from the incident shows that the deputies using Dorito chips from their lunch to create a trail for the big porker to follow home. We were able to put him back and secure the gate. It was fun, Deputy Ponce said.
Of course. How can a pig not like Doritos?
I don't know. I love Doritos.
I mean, that's just high quality junk food right there. Now, were they the jalapenos or were they the regulars?
I'm going Cool Ranch. I'm going Cool Ranch on the Doritos myself. They're addictive.
Oh, sure. I mean, you can't blame the hog. You definitely cannot blame the hog.
You know, they could probably lure me home with Doritos. I would have probably followed that Dorito trail myself. You really can't blame the pig.
Well, you can't blame the pig for getting out either, because believe it or not, if you've never been around farm animals, pigs are highly intelligent creatures. They're also escape artists. Like when you build a pig pen, you got to dig deep. You just don't stick up a little fence and say, okay, get to it. The pigs know. They will dig underneath. And they know how to get out.
Very, very.
They're incredibly intelligent and puzzle solvers.
Oh, yes. You know, I had a rabbit once, and this rabbit, she was very funny, and she was a real thinker. And I know it's a rabbit, but she was a real thinker. We wanted to kind of trap the rabbits in the living room area. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. I was in college at the time. Yes, the college admitted me. I know, it's shocking. And we had blocked off the door and the entrance to the kitchen using those child gates, right? And so the rabbit decided she wanted to get over that gate. So what she did is, I actually watched her do this. She backed up, and they say rabbits are kind of dumb. She backed up, she kind of hopped toward the gate, backed up, hopped toward the gate, backed up, hopped toward the gate. She must have done this 5 or 6 times. And then finally, she gets a good hop going and went right over that gate. You could see the cogs turning in her mind.
I can believe it. I can absolutely believe it.
Rabbits are pretty darn smart too.
Yeah, I had the crap scared out of me yesterday by a wild rabbit.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here I am sizing up a tree, whether or not I'm going to take down. All of a sudden there's this big loud rustling beside me, and I'm thinking, oh, God, what's beside me? I look, and there's a rabbit causing a bunch of noise before seeing me and taking off. I'm like, come on. That's how jittery I am in the forests around here, man. A rabbit freaks me out.
Why are you so jittery in the forest? You're Canadian.
Do you know what kills you up here?
What?
Everything.
No.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story of the coyote in front of my house?
Oh, dude, that's child's play around here.
No, not this story. Okay, so around here we have coyotes and stuff, right? We have foothills, and the coyotes hang out, right? I know you're going to tell me, well, I got bears and Bigfoot and all this other stuff. I get it, but I was going through a turning point in my life, right? And as with any kind of change, there's good and there's bad, and I was sitting outside. Frankly, I was having a cigarette, which I should not have been having. And I was sitting on the curb in front of my house in the middle of suburbia. I live in the middle of suburbia. And I'm sitting out there, minding my own business, having a smoke. And along comes walking down the middle of the street a perfectly white coyote. I mean, albino white, looked like Snow White coyote. And the coyote did not look underfed, which is pretty common. They look underfed. Did not look gangly, matted, dirty, or gross. Just looked like a perfect textbook coyote that had plenty to eat and was very happy, and came trotting down the middle of my street. Okay? And I have a park near my house. So I actually have a park across the street. So I watched this white coyote go walking, not trotting, not running, walking down the middle of the street, walks right past me, okay? Stopped, turned, looked right at me, and kept going. Crosses the street, goes into the parking lot of the park, right? And dissolved in front of me. Like, I'm watching it thinking, how is there a coyote here? Dissolved. Faded away.
It didn't just fade into the dark by walking away into the shadows?
No, there were lights. All because there's a parking lot. As I went through the parking lot, it just kind of faded out.
So you had a ghost coyote.
Well, I took that to be a sign from the universe. And
An
so I
aliens are
looked it
real?
up. No. I looked it up, and apparently, according to local Native Americans in this area, which is the Ohlone, and the coastal Miwok, the Ohlone, etc., they believed that if you saw a white coyote that was traveling from east to west, and I got out my compass, I have a very nice military compass, I got my compass out, from that coyote walks from east to west. If you see a white coyote, a ghostly coyote, it represents one of their gods, and that coyote represents good luck, and that whatever situation you're in, there will be something positive that happens if you see it. And I swear to you, I saw a ghost coyote walk down the middle of the street, didn't attack me, didn't growl at me, spit, hiss, do anything, just looked right at me and just kept going, and then dissolved. And I will say that in the end, as I went through the forks in the road, that there were positive things that came out of it. Hey, I'm on your show, right?
Interesting. That's very weird, man. That's very, very weird.
I am a lightning rod for weird stuff. I will tell you that.
It's the beard. It's definitely the beard. Let's get to another story, my friend.
Got it. Customs beagle sniffs out pig head in luggage. This again comes from UPI. I think they pay UPI reporters to report weird stuff. Customs officials at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport said a canine beagle sniffed out a roasted pig head in a traveler's luggage. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol Protection said Hardy, a Customs Border Patrol agricultural detector, a member of the agency's Beagle Brigade, alerted officials to the presence of a pig head in the checked baggage of a traveler arriving from Ecuador. The nearly 2-pound pig head was destroyed by authorities. Our best defense against destructive pets and animal diseases is to prevent the entry of prohibited agricultural products from entering the United States, said Carrie Davis, Customs and Border Patrol Area Port Director for the Port of Atlanta. This seizure at Atlanta illustrates the tremendous expertise of our four-legged canine partners in protecting the United States.
Interesting.
Pig heads in luggage.
Who carries a pig head in their luggage compartment? I mean, let's be
apparently
serious
that
here
guy
for a
did.
second. Why do you even try? Why do you even try? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
At what point do you say, I'm traveling, through customs, and I'm going to put a pig's head in my luggage? Who does this?
I'm not sure. It's not something that I would do. But also to carry it all the way from Ecuador to here, to Atlanta. That's not a trivial flight. The whole time, it's like, I've got a pig head in my luggage.
Was this guy charged with anything? Tell me this guy was charged.
No, they just took it and destroyed it because, as they said in the article, that bringing in pork products from overseas is against the law. So they took it and destroyed it. I'm glad that we're safe from pig heads in people's luggage.
That's just disgusting. Just disgusting. We got time for one more.
You bring me on here to give you the weird. I deliver. Terrified couple photobombed by ghosts of Titanic's captain in a historic pub linked to famous ship. A couple were left terrified after what they believed is the ghost of the Titanic's captain photobombed them in a historic pub with connections to the doomed ship. Cheryl and Luke Arkless noticed something blurry in the background of their photo, taken in a bar which is full to the brim with original memorabilia of the infamous voyage. They said they also felt something cold on their backs. The couple, both 34, were on a trip to Belfast in Northern Ireland when they visited the city's Robinson's pub. But after the pair from Devon snapped a romantic shot together, they were horrified to spot a spooky face right behind them, and they believe it bears a great resemblance to the ship's captain, Edward John Smith.
Wow. That's pretty insane. Pretty insane. But I mean,
yeah, and when you look at the photo, there you can see it. There's something weird there.
I'm looking at the photo right now, thanks to Jeff on Twitter. I mean, that could be a person walking. There's definitely something there. But you know when somebody's walking past? Could be a blur.
Nah, I don't think so.
I know.
Usually
I'm
happens,
just trying to be a little skeptical here.
Well, I think they
get criticized. I get a little criticized sometimes for the tinfoil and the peak woo that I love.
It's an interesting photo.
It is, actually. I mean, I wouldn't say that's the captain of the Titanic.
Yeah, but it's something.
It's definitely something. But I think that's what kind of blows it up, is when you try and put something or someone famous on it. That's where it kind of kills the credibility, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a story, right? There was was it ValueJet? I think it was ValueJet. There was a ValueJet plane that went down over the Everglades out in Florida. I think it was ValueJet. And after, or maybe it was Delta. Well, anyway, there was a plane crash out in the Everglades of Florida, right? And they took parts, as is actually common, they took parts from the plane crash and used those as spare parts for other planes. And every plane that got spare parts from that plane had a ghostly incident where the captain or the first officer of the plane that crashed alerted the crew if something dangerous was about to happen. And so, you know, you fill a pub full of stuff from the Titanic, and I have no doubt that whatever that photo is, it's someone from the Titanic. It's just whether it's the captain or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, the residual energy should carry something over, that's for sure. My friend, we're going to get to the thought of the day right now.
Go for it.
The music is on. Little Bumblefoot Kittery bringing us into the thought of the day. The thought of the day we do every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Then we read your responses on the air, because we love having the audience participation around here. So today's thought of the day is as followed. Because it was recently Sammy Hagar's birthday, we asked an important music question. For Van Halen, are you on Team Sammy or Team Dave? Now, as I stated earlier from El Gab, the legendary Bart L voted that he was on Team Gary Cherone. Still don't know how anybody could say Gary Cherone was the best singer of Van Halen. But that's Bart L for you. That's just who he is.
Team Dave here.
See, I'm Team Sammy.
Team Dave.
We're gonna brawl it right here. Let's figure out what the audience responded to here.
Let's go.
All right. We're getting to it. We are getting to it. Bram is about Team Sammy. That's on Twitter. Appreciate that. Totally appreciate that. We have a number for Team Dave. Totally do. However, Jackie Chin, who's been a guest on this show, she's on Team Sammy. Thomas is on Team Dave. The Ukrainian watermelon, Ron Moniak, says, I hate to jump, in quotation marks, to conclusions, but I believe your question is narrow-minded, Dave. And then he posted a meme that shows a picture of Axl Rose and Mama Fratelli standing beside each other, saying that they look like twins. You know what was on at that point? Very, very cold Ukrainian watermelon. Very cold. Sherry says, I saw Dave back in 1984, and it was the most amazing concert ever. He is quite cocky, but I prefer him and his voice. He was super charismatic. Sylvia, what do you mean? What does Van Halen have to do with it? So I said, are you on Team Dave or Team Sammy? And she's on Team Dave. I lost that one. David Garcia, big time power mustache. We call him the lip blade around here. Tight, very tight. He's on Team Dave. Kevin and Kevin's beard, two separate entities. They're on Team Dave. Coral, just to be different, she's on Team Eddie. It's because he's never left. Joe's on Team Dave. The Axe, John Ackerman, is on Team Dave. Tim is on Team Sandy. Or Sammy, pardon me. Eric's on Sammy. Sleepy Dave says, this is like asking Bon Scott or Brian Johnson for AC/DC. I'm going Axl Rose. Or Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah. John says, David is the only one that matters. I like Van Halen, not Van Hagar. Rob is all about David Lee Roth. Uncle Dale and his power stash are like, what? What? This is the thought of the Dave? Blasphemous. Absolutely blasphemous. Reverend Keith, neither team. However, I was able to spend a couple of hours with Sammy before a concert at the university. He hung out with us student roadies. Very nice guy. We're going to put him on Team Sammy as well. Kelly, I absolutely cannot and will not get into this discussion. It causes nothing but arguments that do not need to have been had at all. We're going to put her on Team Sammy. Actually, that comment there, Kelly, you're probably on Team Gary Sharon. So 2 for Gary Sharon. Are you okay with that, Olaf?
I'm okay with that.
All right. Tessa's on Team Dave. Janine, Diamond Dave all the way. Yep. Gregory, well, Sammy kicked some serious butt after he took over lead vocals, and Van Halen was lucky to get him. Unfortunately, in concert, David Lee Roth wins, hands down.
Yeah, you can't fight David Lee Roth in concert.
I wouldn't know.
He just
never saw him.
I saw films of it. You can't. Yeah, you can't fight that.
Well, we got a couple more. We got Terrence in Toronto. He's on David Lee Roth. Gloria still has a 1984 crush on David Lee Roth in his leather pants. Kevin gets the final word of the day. Sammy or Dave, indeed. David Lee Roth, David Leatherman, Cheech and Chong's Dave Not Here Man, Super Dave, or Dave Scott of the SOR Rockers. I think for this year, Sammy would honor Canada's momentous new decree and back Dave's Not Here Man. Dave's Not Here. Mr. Olaf Phillips, tell us where we can find Paranoia Magazine.
ParanoiaMagazine.com, Paranoia Mags on Instagram, Paranoia Mag on Twitter, and Paranoia Magazine on Facebook.
Wonderful. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, my friend.
I'll see you then.
Big thank you to Jamie Sexton as well with the Rebel Planet. He'll be back on the show on Thursday, November 15th with another edition of the Alternative News. Tomorrow night on the program, Andrea Perrin is going to be here talking about her new Alien book. Do aliens and the paranormal have any sort of tie? We'll ask her tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thank you to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Big shout-out thank you to the wonderful snark on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio tonight. All of you, even you, Mikey, We're fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Everybody on Spreaker, fantastic comments and questions from you as well. The Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers, and on Rev Radio, thank you for your participation as well tonight. Love you all. Let's not forget that each and every night, you guys help make us bigger and better, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night. See you tomorrow.